Okay, take 17. California Times, Guy Meyer, hello, April 16th, 2026. There's more going on in this universe than I can account for, people, and don't expect me to get any of it in a particularly coherent order. But hope you're all well, and good to be hopefully producing some kind of show. Hey, listen to that plinking and planking. Yeah, that's a little backyard patio jamming, me and a buddy. Just letting you know what's getting me distracted and making music, which is not a bad thing. The big news in California is the ongoing destruction of our communities by the misguided housing policies of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party in California. And I don't know what party's going to correct this, but we do need some kind of party. And I wish it had some kind of what I thought was Republican principles, but principles that might be like Woodstock principles or like 60s principles, like whatever that might have been. But I thought it had to do with liberty and responsibility, even though, 60s seems pretty irresponsible. But I think people were trying to say, let's change the world and, I'll do my part and try to step up. I think, that might have been lost in the wash. But, all right, so I'm going to move over. Maybe that'll work. All right, so it's a story that got brought to my attention this week, and not a pleasant story, and there's just lots of things in this world to look at, but this is my town, San Anselmo, and it kind of left me feeling fairly unsatisfied, to be, more than unsatisfied, matter of fact, kind of sad. My friends at the San Anselmo Marin County community page right here on April 13th at 6:57 a.m., looks like our CMPD, that stands for Central Marin Police Department, had a little problem in 2022. Police to pay $3.15 million after tasing San Anselmo man suffering medical seizure in San Anselmo. So this is a new story to me. This event happened in 2022. The settlement in the courthouse just took place a few days ago, and I think very few people knew about this, including at least one of the town councilmen who I just spoke to, who reports that this was news to this councilman. And the issue with the San Anselmo is one of like 4 towns in all of California that share a police department with a different municipality, and that's sort of an issue regarding oversight or accountability. At least it's an issue in my mind, and I was not in favor of the move 20 years ago when this took place, because I was afraid of all kinds of things like this that someday might happen, and the police chiefs are no longer directly answering to a mayor or a town council. It has to go through a board that meets once a month, made up of 3 different members of it's called regionalization. And let's play this video and find out a little bit what happened.
On a police misconduct lawsuit in the North Bay, a multi-million-dollar settlement was reached over the tasing of a man who was suffering a seizure.
Our crime reporter Henry Lee live in the newsroom after speaking to that man. Henry?
Well, he told me actually he wishes the case had not settled because he wanted to tell a jury that police should not assume that people they encounter are drunk when in fact they may be experiencing a medical emergency. Body camera footage captures the moment Central Marin Police responded to a 911
Not
call
easy
in
to
San
watch,
Anselmo
people.
and encountered Bruce Frankel in 2022.
Okay, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?
Frankel, seen with his now wife, was stumbling and emerging from a seizure, but officers did not know that at the time. And, according to his lawsuit, assumed he was drunk and treated him like a criminal.
Stop fighting with me.
After minutes of struggling, police tased Frankel and arrested him.
You're gonna get tased.
Stop fighting! Oh my God!
Okay, well, he needs to stop fighting with me.
Now, Frankel, a 64-year-old financial planner, has reached a $3.15 million settlement.
Police officers are not properly trained on how to handle medical situations when they're the first person to arrive.
Frankel says his wife Elise, who called 911 when he began gasping for air, had expected medics to arrive. He says the officers who came first didn't treat him as a patient in need of medical care and did not ask his wife for any background information.
And within 4 seconds of entering my room, our bedroom, jumped me.
Police have said Frankel actively resisted, prompting an officer to tase him twice. An internal review found the officer's use of force was justified. The Central Marin Police Authority, which patrols Larkspur, Corte Madera, and San Anselmo, said a settlement is not an admission of wrongdoing. In a statement to KTVU, the agency said in part, CMPA officers and staff remain committed to serving our communities to the highest standards of professionalism and transparency.
not
But Frankel says
professionalism.
police collaborated on their stories to build a cover-up, wrongly accusing him of domestic violence.
They came up with, 4 different excuses to justify the attack. And they've changed their stories so many times, it's unbelievable. It's hard to keep track.
The Central Marin Police Authority also says they'll continue to invest in training and community engagement so that their practices reflect the expectations of their residents. Live at the newsroom, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
All right, Henry, thank you so much.
Wow. To me, 20 plus years ago, as I say, it was controversial that the town of San Anselmo voted to dissolve its own police department and to become part of a regionalized effort to join what was 2 other cities, Larkspur and Corte Madera. They were known as the Twin Cities Police Department. And there's actually another township in between the Twin Cities and San Anselmo geographically, so they're not even adjacent. Twin Cities actively courted or asked for the towns of Fairfax and the College of Marin Police Department to join them, and both of them declined, but San Anselmo took them up on the offer. From what I understand, it was basically about saving money, as other council members who were there at the time have stated they felt a little bit pressured into saying yes to joining this group because of it seemed so obvious that they were going to save money, but in fact, most people are saying that it saved no money, and has created a interesting dilemma for San Anselmo. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not a dilemma to some people. To me, it's an ongoing issue of accountability and responsibility, and these local guys who are there to protect you and also are armed and no longer directly accountable anymore to a mayor, to council members. So I spoke at a council meeting. Okay, are we on? Yeah, so basically it was Tuesday evening, and I had wanted to speak at the council meeting after seeing this video on Monday prior, and just to learn what the council knew about it, what if I could, and I just come from a hike. You're going to see I don't know. I wish my producer was there with me at the council meeting to advise me to comb my hair or do all the other things that I never do. Let's see if we can make this work here. Previous comments.
Who's next? Guy, welcome.
Guy Meyer, Tamalpais Avenue. Hello, Mayor and Council. I have a difficult subject to bring up here. But I think it needs to be addressed because difficult subjects are basically what councils have to deal with if it involves the town. So there was a post on the Marin community page about the lawsuit that was filed against the police department. And I think probably every member of the council has seen that post, I hope, and has looked at the video. And to me, it was very concerning because this is actually our police department. And it's our police department removed by an interesting event. But when I saw that the chief described it as a meritless claim and filled with inaccuracies, and I watched that video, I really would like to, I think that the town needs to address, do we agree? Because this man won this $3.1 million lawsuit and felt that he was pressured somehow not to go to trial. It's to me, we need to have, I'd like to have answers as a town. I'd like to know who the representative on the council was. How did they deal with it? Do you agree with the chief? Because that means that the police, when called for medical assistance, might do it again. Because $3.1 million, as we know, is not coming out of the town's pocket. It's all part of the California insurance thing. And I personally think that also we should strongly consider reclaiming our police department and possibly making it one of the most best police departments in all of California, a model for California. A man's home is his castle, a woman's home. This officer came in, if you've seen the video, the people have sent it to someone. I urge you all to take a look at it, even though it's not a pleasant thing, just to look at it. And this man, he was having a medical emergency. Somebody called 911, and he was having a grand mal seizure. And the police came first and accused this man was getting up incoherently. And the next thing you know, the police officer, I don't want to describe it, you'll take a look at it. But it was not meritless. And to say that as our police chief, I don't think it speaks well for this town, our police department. I'd like to see our police department come back to our town somehow, and we could be creative and take a new step. Thank you.
Thanks, Guy. Anyone else in the chamber wishing to provide public comment for items not on the
Well,
agenda?
that was me. That was a
Seeing
couple of days
none,
ago.
Serge, do we have anybody on?
And hanging out at the council meeting, you know, I got to see a little bit of what is going on with my council members. For FYI, I ran for town council. I've run for town council of San Anselmo twice, and I've been on the losing end twice. I don't think I'm going to, please do not do it again, Guy, I'm telling myself. Boy, I look like never mind, it's okay. So let's see what Chantal has to say.
Seeing none.
Two quick notes. There was a North Bay League of California Cities executive committee meeting that really did an excellent job looking at some of the housing legislation and pieces that we've been talking about.
Our famous housing
about local
legislation.
feasibility and what might need to change to support compliance and support housing while looking at what's possible, especially for small communities. So there's some movement in that area, which I think is useful and interesting for us. And I may have reported on earlier, but finally there's been a little bit of a coming together around Bradley Burns tax
All right, I don't know what
conversation. So
she's
those are the
going on now
taxes
about,
that
but I had to
you
put that in
order
there
online.
because Chantal is our new council member from the last election and an avid fan of California's laws that the town of San Anselmo, ironically, in their appeal said were unconstitutional. But Chantal is a big fan of them, and I have to maybe play that one more time for my own
To support compliance and
support
housing
compliance. See,
while
I'm so
looking
much.
at what's possible, especially for small communities. So there's some movement in that area, which I think is useful and interesting for us. And I may have
All right.
reported on early.
Anyways, just I think the concept of supporting compliance needs to be replaced with a demand for all of California to stand up and what is a community? What is local rights? Now in San Rafael, they just announced the permitting of a 24-story apartment complex. If the 17-story was not phenomenally out of bounds. Right now, San Anselmo does not have any permits waiting of anything like this. But because these laws are in existence, it's only a matter, particularly, and I somehow I just cannot believe that these things are going to be built. But I believe Ms. Walker is in favor of that. I'm not. I don't know. She's the build, baby, build, as she described it to me. And so when, let's say, a modest 8-story place is a permit arrives on the Planning Commission's desk, and San Anselmo has no power to say no to it, like all the other communities of California have no power to say no. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. And then there's something about, let's see here.
To describe a little bit about the process that got us to the point of being able to approve the Measure AA expenditure plan, because it was a really robust process, which is somewhat detailed in the staff report, but I want to just give it air
pretty,
in the room so that everyone is sort of aware
term
of
opaque?
how we got
a little hard
this
to see
place.
what Yoav is
because
talking
there are some
about,
small revisions.
but let's listen.
I think they're all very positive revisions, by the way, and I think there's broad alignment on that, but just want to make a couple comments. So. The Measure AA expenditure plan was voted in 2018. There was sort of a mandatory review for that expenditure plan that was put in
what
place
did we vote
when it
on
was
now?
approved
What do we
by the
approve?
voters, so that would happen at a 6-year increment. That made it put it in 2026 for that review. Began in 2024, actually. It was a process that began there and included outreach to all the local jurisdictions, to advisory committees like the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, and many others, as well as the public. Lots of feedback gathered all along the way to get to the point where there were formal draft amendments made and presented to the TAM board in the late fall. And then a 45-day comment period was open, where public comment was open, and then this expenditure plan was just approved by the TAM Board of Directors on March 26th. So now it's in the hands of the jurisdictions to all vote and approve it, which is required to actually enact those changes. Those changes are limited and targeted. So 95% of the funding remains in place. There's some sway a little bit on the other.
We're talking about roads, apparently, road improvements.
So one, it strengthens funding for the crossing guard program, which we know, unfortunately, does not benefit us, but benefits the rest of Marin County in the coming year or two, and also has a new ReImagine Roadways program.
ReImagine
where
Roadways.
The biggest change is really happening. So sort of 4% of our local roads funding is going into this ReImagined Roadways program, which is more about sort of the connective tissue of the county.
Does anybody know what
and
that
the major
means?
Thoroughfares and
No,
roadways
I
that
don't think
actually
we do.
connect jurisdictions to one another rather than local specific funding, which actually will increase flexibility and efficiency in how those funds actually roll out to the jurisdictions. So like I said, I wanted to give that a little bit of air because I think it was a really thoughtful, deliberative, collaborative process that got there.
Though the people don't know anything about it, I'm
San
sure.
Anselmo
But,
specifically, Scott, I know you're here. I don't if you have any thoughts or comments that you want to share about how this impacts us.
How does it?
So both myself and Public Works Director Condrey were on the Technical Advisory Committee, and so we discussed this at a lot of different meetings, and there were some smaller communities that didn't like the loss of the 4% for the local roads, and that's money that we use to pave our roads on our annual program. But we all saw the benefits of having the ReImagine Roadways, and so that is going to be seed money to prep some projects so that they can go after grant funds, because sometimes these projects are
ReImagine
5, 10,
Roadways.
$20 million, and they can only be funded with grants. But it's a tough thing to put together a grant application for a project that large with just local money and
A project that
scraping
large,
it out of your budget.
does anybody know what it's
for
about?
a
No.
community, it may be San Rafael or Novato, or it may be a joint project between them and some other communities, but it's really hard to get that seed money, and so that ReImagine Roadway is really important for that reason.
ReImagine Roadways.
Ann here, too.
Oh, yeah, and of course we have
Ann,
Ann, who's the Executive Director and CEO of the Transportation Authority of Marin. I don't know, Ann, if you want
CEO
to
of
say
the
anything
Transportation Authority of Marin.
about where we are.
This is a government
Welcome.
organization. I
Thanks for
don't
being
think
here.
she was elected to
Yeah,
this
thank
position.
you. Ann Richmond, I'm the Executive
Ooh,
Director
let's
at
turn that
Transportation
down.
Authority of Marin. So thank you all for considering
A very
this
interesting
item
bureaucracy.
tonight. As I know him as Commissioner Schlesinger stated, we have been going through this review process that is actually required in the expenditure plan every 6 years. This is the first one since the voters approved the measure in 2018. So
Voters,
we've had,
please wake up one of
as
these
noted,
days.
a lot of outreach, a lot of discussion. This has been at the TAM board for quite a few sessions throughout the last year and a half, as well as with our partner agencies. And really about 95% of the funding is not proposed for any amendments at all. We're just doing these kind of targeted tweaks to about 5% as described here. And the reason it's before you all is, I think was in the staff report also, but once the TAM board approves it, which they did last month, then it has to go to the county, which actually considered and approved it earlier today, and all of the jurisdictions for consideration. So it doesn't go back to the voters, but your councils have a very important role to play with this. So happy to answer any questions or just express my appreciation for all of you and for staff's participation. It has been a lot of extra time for them, and we really value their input. So here, if you have any questions, or just thank you all.
Thanks, Ann. Any questions for Ann?
I have one question, but it's probably more a Dave question, a San Anselmo question. But good that you're there, Ann. Thank you. I know that last week we talked some about the changes that are happening to our crossing guards, I believe impacting 2 or 3.
Right.
How are we moving along, and this might also be a Scott question,
Right.
to make sure that we're reviewing those intersections and doing everything that we can from a public works perspective to create greater safety and visibility,
Right.
recognizing that, some things are already set in place for the TAM funding?
Yeah, we are doing that, and I'll hand it over to Scott because that's one of our big make sure it was addressed.
Yeah, so we are losing several crossing guards. A majority of them are at signalized intersections, which, being signalized, they should already be a little safer than some other intersections and crosswalks. The intersections are going to be having the AI system at them started up in a couple weeks, and that system can provide some additional safety measures in that it can detect a pedestrian that's not yet fully crossed the intersection, and it can keep everything red until that pedestrian is out of the intersection. So that'll help a little bit with that safety. And then the other guard that we're losing is right in front of Wade Thomas. And so we're looking at doing some targeted improvements right at that crosswalk there, including painting a crosswalk across the sidewalk, a stop sign for the drivers leaving the parking lot, and then some other
Wow.
signage enhancements around there.
Losing the cross
Particularly for Wade
guards.
Thomas, because I use that intersection a bunch. Will we have those things in place before school starts?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
So with that,
Curious.
I'll move to approve items 1, 3, and 1, 4.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
What do you think, people of San Anselmo?
Now on
Do
to
we
our main
understand
event
what
for
just took
tonight,
place?
Discussion about the
It's so
new
hard to stay in-
potential downtown resident parking
Up
program.
To date with all this stuff. All right, we're going to go stop now. But let's listen to the man talk, because this is where our leadership has been.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. You know, I'm a 960 SAT guy. And, you know, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, you know, trying to act all there if you got 940.
What is he saying?
Literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech. This may be the wrong business to be in.
Can you read anything there, Gavin? I guess you can.
You know, my dyslexia, I haven't overcome dyslexia. I'm living with it. You know, I was the guy in the back of the classroom and my head down, just praying the teacher didn't call on me. I went through, I mean, I think I lost count of how many schools I had to go to. And, you know, I'll never ever forget. My mom's choice was never to label me. She just had to struggle with me. And I walked in, I'll never forget this. It was probably 8th or 9th grade, walking home, got home early. My mom was always working, so, you know, I'm cooking, literally lived on Stouffer's lasagna, macaroni and cheese. I got finished, you know, 2 pots of macaroni and cheese and got bored. And I went upstairs and there was a file cabinet open and it said Gavin. In fact, she had a weird name, Gavinsky. That was like my nickname. And I opened it up and there was all of these reports from the doctors. And I never realized I was going after school 3 days a week. I didn't know what for. And it was all around, it was the lisp and the reading, the B's and the R's were backwards, spelling which, W-I-C-H, or, you know, the whole, and I didn't, and I'm like, what is this? And that's when I learned I had, quote unquote, dyslexia. My mom was furious because she didn't want that to limit me.
Wow, interesting. Yep, 950, 960 SAT, whatever there, Gavin. Okay, I'm not saying that this man is, something's missing up top, but something's going down terrible in California. A lot of people are trying to fight back. And it would be nice if we had a governor who could recognize and take responsibility and recognize the importance of having communities continue to have the power to design and control their own future. That's just the way it is. All right, so I guess that's about going to be enough for today.
So,
I've been doing a lot of listening to
maybe
all
we'll
kinds
do
of
it
stuff.
again sometime.
Fogarty, I must say, I've been playing this tune a lot.
I went down to the station just to take a ride. I went down to the station just to take a ride. Found myself on a black car yesterday behind. But then half from the platform, no one raised their hand. Well, then half from the platform, nobody raised their hand. There was no tears of regret from that runaway train.
All right, man, I sure love this. All right, that's kind of got me feeling good. Okay, thank you, people. I'm trying to start the show on a regular basis again. Some kind of show, any kind of show, just show, just show up. So, cheers and thank you for watching. If you watch the whole thing, you're there and you're seeing this. So, ciao.